A good afternoon. Tom Ginn on G-Force. We'll be right back. Good afternoon, Tom Ginn, G-Force. I get excited about that banner I created. Be Connected. It's one of my corporate sponsors. I got two. One is ASEA and Be Connected. So I just want to always acknowledge these two very significant companies. That Be Connected is a platform for business people. It's going to be a very recognizable name in the very near future. So you'll start hearing what the buzz is about. And then, of course, my wife and I have a wellness center, and we promote an amazing technology through ASEA, redox signaling molecules. Again, that is going to be a household name in a very short period of time in the area of health sciences. So with that all said, I'm really excited to, today bringing in my guest. I saw him on somebody else's program, and I just resonated with his message. And so I reached out to him, and he did an interview with me, and we've established that dialogue and starting to understand what we bring, value that we bring to our audiences. But G-Force, G is for gratitude. In my coaching, I was turned on by one of my clients to Robert A. Emmons about gratitude, the power of gratitude. And I started applying those principles at a much deeper level, and everything in my life changed. And I highly encourage people that, that gratitude, I believe, is the gateway to our highest potential. I believe it's the gateway to your highest potential, gratitude. It changes your perspective no matter what's going on, the circumstances in your life. It's just a powerful principle when you really study it. So I created this program 2.5 years ago with that in mind. And I am grateful that I have crossed paths with Raja. And so I'm going to bring Raja in. And are you ready there, Raja? He gave me the thumbs up. There he is.
Hey, how's it going, Tom?
I'm doing fantastic. Raja, we got a little late start here, but we got a few people already coming in. I just want to acknowledge to make sure people are tagging and sharing. Thanks, Wes, for jumping on today. Mark's my business associate as well. Thanks for jumping in, Mark. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Did you say be connected?" We're doing a little promoting here today, and I hope you don't mind there, Raja.
Oh, anytime, no problem.
But anyway, the way I like to roll today is just, your story is very diverse. Your journey in life and the things you've done, the challenges you've had. So I really today we're just really going to dive a little bit into your story, but I like to start out with this, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure everybody's tagging and sharing out there.
Right, and if you tag and share, you also get a ring of the victory bell for you.
All right. I love it. But let's start with this, because the program is around gratitude. What are you grateful for today?
Gosh, I think honestly, I'm just grateful that I'm still here. I was involved in actually 2 car crashes, 2 accidents. One in 2015 and one in 2018. That definitely made me pivot in my life and change the course of my destiny. In 2015, I was in a head-on car crash, smashed the windshield, and I think I was doing maybe 30. The other person was doing 40. So hitting the windshield at 70 miles an hour is not a lot of fun. The windshield did completely shatter. and I had some glass in my head for 6 months, and I couldn't turn my head to the left for 2.5 years. And on top of that, I must have had a concussion or a stroke or something. And because for about a year, I started to slur my words. I was on top of my lifelong speech impediment. Now I was slurring my words on top of it. And so I decided I had to make a change because I didn't want to be worse of a speaker than uh, uh, than it was at the time. So I had to find a way to sort of take the bull by the horns. So I had heard about Toastmasters, so I started taking that, and here I am 5 years later. I'm a uh, multi-time international speech competition winner in my area, back-to-back years, and still trying to work my way up to the international level. I won the uh, ultimate speaker competition semi-finalist, third place, tied for third.
And
This
let me see. Hold that up again. I did.
oh sure,
Yeah, let me see that again. All right, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a lot of fun, and as a result of this whole journey, because I started this personal transformation journey at that time, and it really changed the way I think about things and how I view things, and now I see why some people are successful and some are not. And part of that, that attitude of gratitude that you mentioned, Tom, is so powerful. I have to tell you a story about that. I had when I had my karate school still open, uh, um, one of the parents from like many years ago was telling me that her son had a chronic disease, and now he's losing hope. He seems like he has nothing to live for. Basically, he was borderline suicidal. And so I said, you know what? Bring him, bring him to my school, and let me have a chat with him. And and as a result of him being there, he remembered me from teaching him 10 years prior. And because I had taught him, and I was always good with the children, I was always good at connecting and being fun. Um, I have a great time because for me, teaching karate was really a lot about teaching life skills. And so when he came to the studio, I said, "Listen, you were a black belt in my school. You're going to help out. You're going to hold a target. You're going to explain something. You're going to teach him how to stand in a horse stance. You're going to teach him how to throw a punch. These are basic things and you can't forget. You know what to do." So by him being there and me giving him a trust trait, what I call, because sometimes people need that. People need somebody to believe in them,
Exactly.
and then they rise. And at the end of that class, his whole demeanor had changed. He started to just become a new person. And I gave him something else. I gave him I had a notebook lying around. I said, "Listen, I want to give you this. This is for you. This is your gratitude journal. And every day, every morning you wake up, you're going to write down 3 things that you're thankful for, and you're going to say them out loud because people are both visual, auditory, and they're kinesthetic. So by you writing it and saying it and reading it, you're hitting all 3 of those. And a couple of months later, fast forward, his mom calls me back and said, "Master Vaidya, I can't believe what you did with this kid. He's like a new kid again. He's now taking some part-time courses. He wants to go into he wants to become an HVAC technician, and he wants to do something good. So now he's like a totally new kid, and I just want to say thank you for that. You've changed his life, and I think you saved his life." And so that's where that attitude of gratitude really applies. When you start to focus it and use it, it can change people's lives forever. And that's why I always say, everybody should take karate or any martial arts style, because it's not a hobby, it is a life-changing event. And by using attitude in your life every single day, you also change the trajectory of your life too.
I thank you for that story because, as Dr. Robert A. Emmons says, that when most people, we live on the surface, but when we really dive deep into these principles at a deep level, things really change. And that's what he was talking about. And I always like to share this, and then we'll jump back into your story if you don't mind me sharing this.
Mhm.
In the book,
Sure.
and I always like to do this. I'm a pretty disciplined person. I understand I got a long ways to go
Yeah.
to become more disciplined.
Don't we all?
But the world record for writing a gratitude statement, okay,
Oh,
is 50 years, never missed a day,
whoa.
never replicated or duplicated a statement in 50
Wow.
years. And here's the thing that was on it. So the person never missed a day, never replicated something they're grateful for, but they tied it in with the why. Why are you grateful for your cell phone? If you wanted, and people say, well, how can you be so grateful about something? We have infinite supply of things we can be grateful for, right?
Hmm.
And so I always look at that and I go, when I started applying gratitude, I started seeing shifts in my life, how I looked at word,
Hmm.
how I responded to people. I became more caring. I became a lot of different things that I wasn't before. And
Hmm.
even though I knew things, but the gratitude was like, man, the switch. It was like I can't explain it. It just opened up everything.
Right.
And so thank you for sharing that story because it does change lives if you really focus on it.
Hmm.
Um, there's so many things we can be grateful for. And so I looked at that person when I started seeing my change. I could imagine how that person walked this earth with a whole different aura and
Hmm.
perspective in relationships that I think it'd probably be the closest thing is walking in the footsteps of our Christ, Jesus. So it'd probably be the closest thing I can relate to of what that might be like. But when I found it, it's been part of my coaching and my
Right.
messaging and that. So,
Hmm.
but to share a little bit about where you're from, where do you live now, a little bit of background about your career path and where you're at today. And so we'll dive into it a little bit and we'll start talking about some of your objectives and some of the things you're doing out there to help people become the best they can be. So,
Fantastic. Sure. Thank you. So Tom, I've been in the martial arts for 37 years, actually 38 years now, and teaching and training and competing at the world championship levels. I was a world champion when I was 16 years old. And then from the world championships, I had never thought about this, but I could become an Olympian. And so the next big qualifying tournaments on the East Coast were coming up in 2 years. So I made a 2-year plan. And I figured out how many push-ups do I want to do? How fast do I want to run? How much of a split can I do? How high can I kick? All of those things. And started to just make a plan, say, all right, every month to month or every quarter, like what is it that I want to do? How many tournaments do I want to do as practice tournaments to key me up for that 2-year tournament? And as a result of that, that turned into a great 3-hour like workshop I train people on, and it worked because 3 months after my 18th birthday, I went to the East Coast International competition, and I ended up winning the grand championship, beating out 400 other black belts and qualifying for the Olympic team at that time. And so, I would have gone to compete in Taekwondo in the '94 Winter Games. So the goal there would have been to go out for 2 years and compete and train. But at the time, I was very insecure, and my stutter was a lot worse. So I had very low self-esteem, even though I had outward really good confidence. There's a big difference between outward confidence and what I call inner self-esteem. There's plenty of people out there, like you could say the captain of the football team or the head cheerleader. Wow, they look so confident, they're so great, but they worry about so many other things inside that we don't see. And so at that time, I didn't have an attitude of gratitude. I had a scarcity mindset. And what I used to think is like, well, I better train harder. I better do more. I better, you know, get in first because if I don't, I'm going to lose my spot in line because no one else is going to get it. Right. So I would focus so much on achievements, I would stay disconnected to people. And I remember looking back, there's plenty of high achievers who did the same thing, thinking that, You know what? I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I get that scholarship to college. I'll be happy when I buy that big, 4-story colonial home with 2.5 baths and 2-car garage and, the white picket fence. But here's the problem with that. And I'm going to create a mind shift for you right now. Instead of focusing on when you get something, what if we focus on being happy, being fulfilled, being filled with gratitude while we are on the journey to getting that achievement? You just shifted from getting happy only at 1% at the very, very end of the journey to shifting it to you're going to be happy now 99% of the journey, because now you said, I'm going to be happy while I work towards that promotion. I'll be happy while I save up money for the down payment for that big house I always wanted. I'll be happy while I save up for that brand new car that I never had growing up. So now by saying, instead of saying when I achieve it, you say while I'm in the progress of achieving it. You're now filled with gratitude every single day because now you're on the path that you've chosen. And that mind shift is something that you can apply not only to adults, but also to children, because children need to learn that too. Because too often, us as parents, we say, "Did you finish your math homework?" And it kind of stops there. Instead of saying, "What did you like about your math homework? You had chorus this morning. What is your favorite song or music in your chorus concert or your choir concert?" Um, I tell my children all the time. Every time I would come home from work, I say, "Listen, I need my 5 by 5." And what that means is that every day, 5 p.m., I come home. It might be 4:30, it might be 5:30, 6. It doesn't matter. I tell them, "Listen, I need my 5 by 5." That means at 5 p.m., I need a 5-second hug as soon as I walk in the door. So the highlight of my day every day is when I get home and say, "Evan, Ava, where's my 5 by 5?" And they know exactly what that means. And what that means is you have to stop what you're doing and you have to come hug daddy, because daddy is making time for you every single day by doing that. And how often do we tell the people that we love how important they matter to us? So by doing that, I'm showing that I prioritize them, and that stays with them the rest of the evening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They think about that. And my older one now, he's 13. Now he's a little more hesitant. Or not hesitant. He's more like a reluctant. He's like, Daddy, I got to get up. I'm like, yes, Evan, you have to get up. Get off your game, get off Minecraft, or get off Roblox, or like my younger daughter, or Ava, she's 10 now, and she loves doing TikToks with her friends, and they'll do instant messenger or messenger chat, or whatever, back and forth, send little clips and videos and things like that. I said, Ava, 5 by 5. And if they forget later on, and now it's 8 o'clock, I say, hey, I need an 8 by 8 now. So guess what happens? When I give them that hug, they know I prioritize them. It fills them with being more grateful that they have a parent that wants to prioritize them. And on top of that, they remember it. Don't forget that when you create a physical connection with a human being, when you hug someone, your body releases endorphins. It also fights off cortisol, which is our stress hormone. All right, you get more serotonin pumped out, which helps calm you down and ease your life. So this is a physical reaction, a scientific response to tactile a presentation. You need a hug. We as human beings are social creatures, um, and like no other no other species on the planet is self-aware of time, is self-aware of that we are going to end someday, or is self-aware that we want a connection. But actually, that connection, that seems to be applying to almost every other species on the planet too, because uh, even animals, like if you look at a dog, they're so very social creatures, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you have a puppy or, or a dog, God bless you, because like then your fur babies become part of your family, don't they? And they look for you. They really do. You know, cats, they're more solitary. That's okay. And that's the way they are. But they still need the love. When I go to my friend's house and the cat, his cat comes over to my leg, and I'm very warm blooded. I always kind of run hot, so I think that's why the cats actually like me. They come sit in my lap, and I just stroke them, and I hear the purring, and I'm like, oh, well, good, he's in a good mood. So see how that connection provides positive manifestation, because we're there, because we want to be grateful, because we want to do something positive for something else. So I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Raja, I tell you what, that in that few minutes as you were talking is a life course in itself. I mean, seriously, is the understanding as creatures and what we need, and the biochemistry that creates, and making people feel good, that you get rid. It's you making people. Success is related to how you feel. So, I love what Sandy Gallagher said. I don't know if you know who Sandy Gallagher is. She was the partner of Bob Proctor. She came in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
well, no, Bob,
she says people get success mixed up with a tangible outcome, right? The car, the boat, the vacations,
the house,
how big the check is,
and comparing to the neighbors,
stuff. So she says, what real success is who we become along the way, the journey, that journey that you're one step at a time, and you celebrate that moment. Hey, I did it. I got up this morning and I did my to-do list, and you feel good, right? You get that serotonin rush. Hey, I did something. That's why when you accomplish something, why do you feel good? It's that neurochemistry, right? So keep doing that behavior and avoid, once you know those behaviors that make you, oh God, right? Depression and all that. But you said something that I can relate to. You've talked in the past on some other programs, your speech challenge, impediment, whatever we want to call it. I don't hear it. I don't recognize it. It's who you are, and your presence and your communications besides that is much more powerful. But I can relate to you, having that, because I was self-image. You talked about it.
Yeah.
We have an outside image that I was an athlete. I was a highly recruited football player nationally. My goal was to play at Notre Dame.
Yep.
I had those offers.
Rudy.
But unfortunately, I got hurt, and those scholarship opportunities went down. So I built myself up on my athletic performance, and that was who I was. But because I have a learning disability, ADHD, audio dyslexia, and some other little things that back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I frustrated the heck out of my teachers. And one teacher, I won't mention her name, one day she got so frustrated with me coming to the board. So I knew the answer. I could see the problem. It was in my head. But the moment I had to write it, I couldn't do it. And she got so frustrated. This was ongoing. This wasn't just the once. And she just lost it. She says, Tommy, are you dumb or something? Well, it reaffirmed my self-image about myself, because I thought I was dumb. I didn't know why I couldn't do it, but I knew it. But they didn't know I knew it, right? So I lived my life up until about 8-10 years ago with that self-image holding me back. Now, I know how to perform. I know how to work hard. But my self-image says you can't outperform your inner self-image. You can't outperform it.
Yeah.
And so I related to what you said. You did the martial arts thing, but we all have that little wounded child in this, right?
Yeah.
And so I related to you, in such a great way. That's a great message you shared, because we all have that wounded child self-image to one degree or another. I haven't found any human being yet that doesn't have a self-image issue at some place in their life. So thank you for sharing that, and being grateful does change that whole perception of how we feel. Success is a feeling. Failure is a feeling too, right?
Yeah. But here's the thing, and we all go through ups and downs in our lives. We go through wins and failures. But we can reframe that in our mind. Here's another mind shift I do with my clients. We talk about what a failure means, and so we say, all right, what is it? What is it? What does a failure mean? And we talk about, what is it that you learn from it, and what how does it make you plan? How does it make you feel? How does it make you move forward? And we talk about how the word fail, stands for first attempt in learning. First attempt in learning. Just
I
like the
love
word
that.
feel, just like the word feel or fear stands for face everything and rise. So there's a lot of misnomers that we have because we listen to society's version of what they think you should be, and you get boxed in. And when you get stuck in that box of fear, you get programmed. Your brain is like a computer and gets programmed by things as you grow up. You get programmed by your family environment, you get programmed by your school, your culture, your teachers, you get programmed by television, you get programmed now through social media. And even though we are required to have instructor-led training in order to get a driver's license, we do not have any sort of instruction or training or protections from social media algorithms, which actually are not a one-way algorithm. They are a two-way algorithm, and they are actually impacting the way children are developing. And this is scientifically proven. So right now, I don't let my children on Facebook. I don't let them on Instagram. My daughter has TikTok, but I've, I, I actually like viciously monitor it, make sure that she's not putting out anything that can be uh, um, counteractive to what she wants to be in the future. And also, I'm paying attention to people who are not trying to contact her as well. I told them both that things on the internet are mostly untrue. Everybody goes on Instagram and puts the perfect turkey dinner with the ribbings and trimmings and the perfect Christmas tree, and you think all of a sudden, wait a second, my life sucks because I don't have that. I should be like that too. Because now we start to compare, and
Yes.
we start to do the comparison game. And my father actually is one of those reasons why I think I've been a little bit more centered in my life, is that he always said, and this is coming from a person who grew up in a very poor third world country in a small village. And, he was the second of eight siblings. And he was the only one that became a doctor. So he went to a dental school. He became a dentist in India first. Then he came over to the U.S. back in the 70s, went to uh, a University of Pennsylvania, passed all of his board uh, pre requirements, and he passed his boards on his first shot. And
Wow.
at the time, he um, you know, he got made fun of too by all of his friends, who had been in America for years before. They said, "Oh, look at this guy. He doesn't dress well. He doesn't know how to, you know, he doesn't know how to look good. He doesn't eat meat. He doesn't, whatever." So he felt bad at that time, but he used that as fuel to study. He got a job working as a night manager at some factory up in northeast of Philadelphia. And so while he's working, making $2 an hour, it took him 2 years to save up $2,000 to fly my mom, me, and my sister over to America. Meanwhile, he's studying. And because it's a night job, he can basically do his rounds and then sit down for 45 minutes and then study, do his rounds and do that. And now, why is it that he was able to pass his board exam the first time and gain the respect of all of his friends? Because he said that he was working. He had a mission. He had to bring his family over to America. So a lot of us have a goal. We have a task. We don't have a mission. You need to have a big, very important, non-negotiable
Yes.
mission that drives everything else. And if you don't, you'll still be successful, but there'll be something a little bit missing because you're not reaching your full potential. My dad told me, you know, the wealthiest person in life is the person that doesn't care what other people think about them. So right now, when my dad buys a car, I remember like 15 years ago, he had a Nissan Maxima, good car, and I told him, Dad, why don't you get a Lexus? Because like he had a Toyota Corolla before, then a Camry, and his first car in the U.S. was a Chevy Nova mustard yellow. Had I don't know if it had seatbelts or not. I remember being a kid, and I thought it was cool because we could jump in the back seat, and he would yell at us to sit down, and while we were driving around. But it was a two-door, and then my dad finally, when he established his business, he bought a Cadillac. And I thought it was the coolest thing because it had four doors. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I get my own door. I was happy. That's all it took for me to be happy. I didn't care about the car. I didn't even know what a Cadillac was. I just knew that I got a door to go in, so I felt special. And how many of us feel special just because we get our own thing or waiting for that new thing? But you don't have to wait for that. You're already special.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, our society trains us to think that we're broken and that there's something wrong with us because we don't have that perfect Christmas tree. We don't have the perfect turkey. We don't have the perfect manicured lawn with all the lawn ornaments and decorations. It's okay. That doesn't matter. If one person enjoys that, my next door neighbor, my God, he goes all out. He's got at least 50 lawn ornaments and lights and everything and banners, and he's got the little laser strobe lights going on in his home. And as soon as it passes Thanksgiving weekend, he puts everything up, so he gets all in. But I'm not in competition with him. I think it's awesome that he does that. I think it's very cool. Every time I see his lawn, I smile. Meanwhile, in my lawn, I have 3 ornaments. I have some solar candy canes, and I'm done. Just because I love Christmas, but I hate decorating the lawn.
Roger, yeah, I could relate to that. You mentioned some, you're talking some very specific things. I'm just going to go back and highlight some things because these are relevant to how we grow and we get hung up on our culture. You mentioned a lot of things and we don't realize how much it's impacting us and in those type of things. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to plagiarize failure, your first attempt in learning. I mean, that's the time I've heard that comment. So I'll give you a credit for it, somebody.
No, I saw it on Facebook somewhere, so it's not even mine. So feel free to use
all right.
It's in the public domain, I'm sure.
You mentioned something, and this is something I've learned from, I've had great mentors in my life, thank God, that it's just only as we grow, we get a different level of awareness and a better understanding. When growth opportunities come in, we're prepared for them or anxious to look. I think that's the key. We want to know more. That's our nature anyways within us, but we sometimes don't know it, right? We let all the things, you want to do what that little talking, but you said something non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And my wife is a great one on that. She has in her life, she has certain things in her discipline and who she is are non-negotiable.
Yep.
And her life revolves around. But here's something that we're talking. We're just sort of flowing. That's what I love about talking with people on growth paths and how they got to where they're at. I may be teaching the same thing, but now you got to give me a different perspective. I mean, I think that's how we learn. Is this not? I call it universal laws, as Bob Proctor says.
Yep.
If it's not man-made, it will work. Because a lot of things we have are man-made, but spiritual laws, they always work the same. Physical laws, you're a scientist, that you change a molecule in something under the same circumstance, will always give you the exact same result, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with human beings. We fill our mind up under the same we always get the same result over and over and over again. And that's non-man-made. How we think, how we believe, those are non-man-made. Now, when we interject the man-made principles, then we have, my opinion, problems. But you said a mission and purpose and those things. I like to expand that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One of my clients, former quarterback at Syracuse, I always like to give credit where the credit is due.
Yeah.
Is my clients teach me more many times than I teach them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think that's part of this whole thing of personal development. is we're growing together. No one person has all the answers.
Yeah.
No one person does. And he says, Tom, he said, we're talking about Bob Proctor. We're talking about goals and big audacious, something bigger, all that. He says, you got to hear Dr. Miles Monroe. Do you know who he is?
I've heard of him.
He's a pastor. He was from the
Okay.
Dominican Republic, but he had an institute, a personal development institute out of Dominican Republic, world renowned author and all that. He says, you got to listen to his sermon or his speech, The Power of Vision. Okay, I'm all open. I'm a junkie when it comes to this. The more
I love
stuff
vision
like
work,
that, I'm in all the time. People say, how many books do you read? I don't know, hundreds.
Yeah, a lot.
I absorb everything that I can when I prioritize it. And he talked about vision, the power of vision. And what that really means, that's that emotional attachment and he went on to say that goals don't work. And I think it's where a lot of personal development, your goals are the processes to get to an end result. But if you're not emotionally attached to the outcome that you seek with a purpose and a why, this whole thing. And when I looked at that, I changed how I coached. I don't talk goals anymore. When you listen to successful people, they're not talking about their goals and the steps and the processes they did to get there.
No.
They talk about their vision first, their why around why they do what they do, and how important it is at an emotional level. When we're emotionally charged, we get that endorphin, right?
Yep.
When we have goals, we're setting ourselves up for failure because the first obstacle, the first failure, the first attempt, and you're not putting learning in it, you say, I can't do it. I didn't learn anything, right? Most people quit on goals or they downsize. But when a person has that vision, there's no negotiation. He says this, life becomes easeful because it determines who you associate with, what books you read, what TV programs. It eliminates all the world's distractions. And your vision and my vision are two different things. They may be in alignment in many areas, but they're two different. So we only bring those things in that support our what? Our vision. It makes life easeful.
Yeah.
And we don't get distracted. Now, I love people that don't have the same views in the world, but in my vision movement for myself, my family, and the things that I want to do for the long term, I only bring people in that are like-minded, like-heartedness or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to mold their vision, but we understand. I understand, right? And I think that's important. You said it, the mission and non-negotiable. There's certain things that I do in my life are non-negotiable. People say that's closed-minded or selfish. No, I think it just opens up a whole different thing. So anyway, I got on my little thing, and it's all about you, my friend. So,
yeah.
So,
well, I love that you touched upon the non-negotiables because truly a lot of us don't realize we need to make something a non-negotiable. It's not handed to us. It's not something that is kind of automatic. We have to actually sit down and think about it. What is really important? And in my own program with my own coaching clients, I have a PDF document where what are your 5 non-negotiables daily, and I talk about and I'm here, shameless plug. I have a book I'm working on called Unbox Me Today. There you go. There you go. Here's a little mock-up of it. And eventually when that comes out, I talk about in my own success journey and transformation is that I talk about the 5 pillars I've kind of gleaned through all of the books, coachings, masterminds, workshops, retreats, etc. that I've learned from. And for me, and this is just one person's opinion, and if it works for you, great. I talk about my 5 pillars of success in my book about health, wealth, mindset, faith, which is really value systems, and family, which is really relationships. And by focusing on all 5 pillars in balance in your life, like a rising tide is going to raise all ships. And probably almost a more apropos analogy would be like five legs of a table, and that we don't realize when one or two of the table legs are a little bit wobbly. It's okay, the table's not going to fall down. But what happens in our lives is that by being imbalanced, what happens is you start stacking on stress. And now I have work to do, and I have another task to do, and there's something else. All of a sudden, the table gets loaded down, and each of those legs feels that stress. Where does it break? It breaks on the pillars that are imbalanced. So by creating a table of five legs where each of those is in balance with each other, you're going to be able to handle the stresses that life throws at you. Versus if you're imbalanced and one of your legs is completely chopped off and you don't work on it at all. I know plenty of people that they're super rich, but they're divorced and they can't hold on to a relationship, and they don't have a good relationship with their kids. That's a tough life. I don't know if I would pick that, because I'd rather have a lot less money. I'd rather be near being broke and have my family with me. But then again, by being broke, now I can't send them to college. Now I can't send them on school field trips where all their other friends are going. Now I can't buy them a phone because every single other friend of theirs has a phone and they don't, so they feel left out. So in both ways, things are imbalanced. So by us focusing on balancing out and rounding out our lives, it's not about saying, well, in this category, I'm a 5, this category, I'm a 3, this category, I'm a 7. What that does in your mind intrinsically, now we work on a neocortex level, which is very logical and forward thinking. Then we work on our cortex, which helps to organize everything. Then we work on our subconscious, which is our limbic thinking. And our limbic thinking is what they call your reptilian brain, is very emotional. So until you get into that stage, habits don't change, feelings don't change, and emotions don't change. So that is where we root a lot of our habits, in that emotional state. So if I want to be able to change something in my life, that's where I need to go. That's where you need to start changing things. So, um, say for example, uh, somebody wants to, all right, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, fine. Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? I don't know. Just I feel like I'm overweight. Okay, why not 20? Why not 30? Why not 50? Say, well, because it's hard. I'm like, okay, so it sounds like your why is not strong enough. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, why do you want to lose weight? Well, I feel a little overweight. I don't want people to look at me. Okay, fine. Well, what happens when they look at you? Well, I kind of feel bad about myself. Okay, well, fine. Why do you feel bad about yourself? Everybody looks at everybody. Why do you care about that? And then they'll say, well, because this one time when I was a teenager, there's a boy I liked and he made fun of me because I was heavy. I'm like, okay, fine. So the problem was not everybody looking at you. The problem was that one person's opinion of you imprinted on you, and you carried that you carried that anchor, that baggage throughout the rest of your life. And now you're still trying to survive that, and trying to thwart those feelings of like inadequacy and shame because of one person's opinion. Is that what you're saying? And some people start getting into tears when we start getting into this deep dive about what is the real reason we're doing things. Well, now the real reason is, I don't really care so much about how I look, but I can't keep up with my grandkids. I can't keep up with my children. Oh well, therein lies what you want. What is it that you really want? So when we talk about non-negotiables, are you actually in alignment with your intentions and your actions? And I remember years ago hearing Tony Robbins say that success leaves clues. Very simple thing. And there's a lot of people out there on the internet that say, oh, you just fake it till you make it. And I cannot stand that, because as a black belt and as a martial artist, you cannot fake being a black belt. But what I leave my clients with is like my quote, and you can quote me on this, is don't fake it till you make it. Instead, believe it and become it. Because by you believing in it, you're going to work at it. You're going to stay in alignment with what you're, for lack of a better term, what is your goals. Now, say that you have a wish, you have a big dream, but it's not enough to say, I want to make $1 million. That's great. What do you want? How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Oh, I don't know. I just mean someday. I'm like, well, why not this year? Why not next year? When is the deadline? Is the deadline in 100 years? Because you'll be dead by then. So when is this? Where is the finish line of what is it that you want to do? And if you don't have that finish line established, you're wasting a lot of time, and time is the most valuable commodity that we have in our lives. So now there's a great book by James Clear or James Clear called Atomic Habits, and it's all
Okay.
about habit stacking and creating habits that creating micro habits that are easy to do. And like I think it was Jim Rohn that said, like when something's how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you can do an easy thing every day, that 1% rule of growth, 1% every day, that Kaizen technique of incremental growth. It's not about, oh, I finished it 50% today and 50% tomorrow, I'm done. Okay, well, that's fine. You can do that for one task. But in general, we're improving 1% a day, right? So can we agree that if we can improve 1% a day in 3 months, we're almost at 100%? That's fast. So the 1% growth plan, it's a fast plan. In 365 days, you've increased 370% from your starting goal. If you say, I can't do any push-ups, fine. Do one push-up today, do 2 tomorrow, do 3 the next day, do 4 the next day. All of a sudden, oh, it's too easy. It's like, okay, well, it gets harder. But in the beginning, it's super easy, isn't it? Because now it's easy to stack on those habits. And James Clear talks about how when you create a habit with both a time and a location, that is when you start to create habit stacks. And when you start to create these habit stacks, like for example, you want to say, you know what, I always forget to take my medicine in the morning. And so, okay, so let's create a plan for you to do that. Well, that's on my dresser, and then I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, and I take a shower, and then I do this. I say, okay, fine, that's fantastic. What if you put your medicine next to your toothbrush? And they say, oh, I never thought about that. It blew my mind. All of a sudden, now they're staying consistent with their the medicine dosing. There's a lot of people over the age of 35 now who are now starting to get diabetes type 2. And I'm going to make a program to help people to overcome that. Men over the age of 35 who are entering diabetes type 2, and really it is how to thwart it, because diabetes type 2 is not a disease. It is a condition of lifestyle.
Yep.
Because you can control what you eat, and you can control how much you exercise. And unless you have type 1, which means you don't have the cells, you don't have the islets of like Langerhans that actually produce the insulin in your pancreas. If you have type 1, you're born that way. You basically don't have the pumps that make the that make the insulin. That's not your fault. That's nobody's fault. That's just genes, and that's okay. That happens. So you have to monitor that from a very, very young age. But as an adult, type 2 diabetes is one of the fastest growing conditions in the U.S. Apparently, approximately 30% of adults over the age of 35 are
pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Pre-diabetic or diabetic. And people don't know that you get diabetic neuropathies. It's also the silent killer. It also creates heart attacks. So people don't realize that. So if you're pre-diabetic, save yourself a heart attack. Go start watching what you eat, exercise, create those habits. And so when we talk about all those non-negotiables, think about what it is that you really want. What is that dream, that wish? And this is what I was coming back to, is that, a wish is just a wish. You're not gonna get anything, right? But I say a wish is a goal with a plan. So if you have a goal with a plan, right, with a deadline, now you can actually achieve that dream. Now it's no longer a dream. Now it's just something that's ongoing. You're on the way to.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of us think that you have to be perfect to do all these things. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do 20 things a day just to validate yourself as a success. Do 2 things every day, and then schedule it. There's a great book called The 12-Week Year by
Absolutely.
Grant. It's fantastic.
It's one of my favorite. When I instituted that in my day-to-day, it changed everything, how I organize everything.
Yeah. And it's fantastic because now I don't do task lists anymore. Whatever you want to do, don't do 10 things in a day. Do 3, do 2, because now you get an easy win. 1% a win every day. That's fast. That's fast success. And remember, and don't forget this also, like consistency beats intensity. It really does, because it's not about you pushing that 20,000 ton flywheel one time in a day and just saying, oh, I can't get it. It doesn't work. It's more about incremental growth, incremental improvement and progress, isn't it? And then that progress, you reach a point where you reach a tipping point in your life and in your business where now things start to become self-perpetuating. Like I just hit, I think, 180 interviews on my show in 6 months. In 6 months. My goal was to do 100 in 6 months. I'm approaching 180 in 6 months. So I feel like I ran the 4-minute mile because I kept trying. I kept saying, well, I just won't get a 0 2 days in a row. That's all. You don't have to be perfect. Just don't take a 0 2 days in a row. That's all. So that means more often than not, you're reaching your goals. You're making a plan to reach those dreams, and you're implementing by aligning your actions with your intentions. So don't forget that importance that like in order for you to get traction in your life, you got to take action. You take action, you get traction.
Yeah. I just love, I'm all for it. My face is plastered to the monitor here. You just draw me in your knowledge, your wisdom. I understand, but I also get a different perspective. And I think you've got a gift. I just want to acknowledge that. That's the first thing I saw when I first saw you interviewing, and I reached out to you, and we ended up having some other people that we connected with and we've interviewed. Yep. But I know I said 45 minutes, right? Here we're already into an hour. So it's easy to get into this, but I'd love to have you back as a guest. I mean, absolutely. We can really target on some things.
Yeah.
But gratitude, I believe, just sets a different perspective of where you're at instead of getting into the victim mentality. Even in the loss of a loved one or a loss of something significant in your life, there's good in everything. And if we focus on that, it changes. It doesn't eliminate the problem, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't, it just allows us to respond versus react. Because most people react to everything.
They're in reaction mode.
They're in a reaction versus responding, which are two different things through awareness and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a lot of things here, and I've coached for 7-8 years now and used Bob Proctor's principles and some other great mentors that reinforce what he was teaching. That's helped me. I use the principles. I always tell people in my coaching, I can get you to where I'm at. As I grow, maybe we'll go together.
Yeah.
But I can get you to where I'm at, and that's where I hear a lot of coaches. I would rather just turn my friend, I call my clients my friends, over to somebody that'll take them to where they need to go. Because I can't get everybody to where they want to go. I can get them where I'm at, right?
Right.
I can get people to where I'm at, and I'm growing, and hey, we'll go up that way. But I hear this all the time. I ain't got time. Well, I don't have any more time than you or anybody else. It's just a matter of establishing the priorities around a vision, purpose, why, all that.
Yep.
Make sure, and you allocate your time. You use Robert Moran's a 12-week year. You start really taking those priorities, and if it's not on the calendar, in my opinion, isn't a priority.
That's right. Yeah.
That's my days are planned out that way.
Mm-hmm.
So then I hear the next thing. Oh, that's hard. Well, anything that you've accomplished worthwhile was hard.
Yeah. Try to get a black belt. It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. Success is hard.
It's hard. It's supposed to be hard.
Exactly. And then I say, I got to give something up. Well, that's sacrifice.
Yeah.
But sacrifice could be something permanent. You recognize something that's not supporting your vision. You want to get rid of that. And that takes work. It takes discipline. It takes guidance. It takes mentoring. It takes a lot of things to get rid of that, right?
Right.
In many cases. But sacrifice is this: you're giving something up either permanently or temporarily for a higher good. And that higher good is always in direct relationship to your vision, purpose, and why.
Yeah.
And
And and
that
and and,
then it's not
and
a
I call
giving
that,
anything up. You're
yeah,
gaining.
yeah, because I call that ambitiously lazy. I'd rather work really, really hard in short term so I can relax long term. That's all you're doing, you know? You're
Yeah, I
being
love what you're saying.
ambitiously lazy.
I want to go back to what you talk about your book for a second.
Sure.
You got a little bit of green screen there, so let's see if we can put it up without the green screen affecting it. Let's see what we got here. What's the name of your book?
Okay, so Box Me Today. It's not out yet, but actually, what I'd love to do is if I can grab, where is it? Actually, the first book, I have a book. When I was talking about the 5x5, also, this is something that people don't realize is that uh, my book that I really want to come out is called Hug a Bully, and that is really, I think, going to change lives. That's where I went back recently, high school reunion, and talked to people who I usually have here. Can I present a picture? Let's see, or share screen here for a real quick?
Yeah.
There
Have
we
I given you
go.
share screen privileges? Let
Yes,
me.
here it is. There it is. So there we go. So there's the first version of the cover. I don't know if you see it yet. If
Yes,
you can,
I
just
just brought
mention
it up.
something in the chat or just, fantastic. So the whole idea there is like hug a bully because hurt people are the ones that hurt people. And bullying doesn't stop in school, it continues in families, it continues at work. And now people are bullying online through computers, through cyberbullying, and through cell phones. And it's not even about being overt because there have been people that have gotten bullied in colleges who were gay and they were outed by somebody who was being mean and they just wanted to out them without their permission, and that person committed suicide. So so these like so these like manifestations of what happens when someone bullies are really terrible, and they're still continuing in our society. Here, I'm going to stop the share, but I just wanted to show you that to say at the bottom there it says, featuring the class of 92, the best come shining through. And I say that because our class, we just had our high school reunion recently. And at that high school reunion, you know what I did? I went and talked to each of my past bullies, those that were there, and asked them why were they a bully or were they a victim, and talked to plenty of other people who were victims and said, what was your experience? And then next question was about, as a parent or as an adult, what is your perception of it looking back? Why did it happen? What led to it? What was the reasoning? Why did you bully? And a lot of them told us, oh, because my dad bullied me, or somebody else bullied me, my brother bullied me, my cousin bullied me, because a classmate bullied me. So basically, in psychology, they call that transference. Um, you know, because you are getting treated a certain way, you want to treat someone else a certain way so that you can regain control of your life. I think with cognitive behavioral therapy, like they use those kind of techniques to to make sure that you are not transferring those emotions to somebody else, but rather dealing with them and stopping and breaking that cycle. So that's why that book is called Hug a Bully, Break the Cycle of Bullying, because we need to stop creating bullies. We're only going to do that if we understand what is happening beneath us. Now, I love cognitive behavioral therapy. I also love uh, NLP, that's neuro linguistic programming. I use that on my clients to help them to deal with past trauma and to recode, reprogram their brain so they can handle it and move on past that. I have a client who she was stuck with a trauma with her father, and I was able to use NLP to, after 15 years of therapy, she hadn't dealt with it. But in a 20-minute session with me, we were able to rewire her brain, and then she was able to move on from it. So
Wonderful.
what a success, and what a success for her, not for me, for her.
Exactly.
I was so proud of her because now she was able to put that in her past and focus on the future. And really, I think that's what it's a privilege and a joy to be a coach, especially the kind of coaching I do. It's about mind shifting, and I say at my studio behind me, it's called Victory Mindset Academy, but I work on a mind shift philosophy because after teaching the martial arts for 37 years, I saw that students go from a white belt mind lock to a black belt mind shift. And by understanding how to create that black belt mind shift, you now have a toolbox of strategies that you can carry on with you virtually in your head throughout the day. So when you get triggered by going to the office and you get an email from your boss saying, "Hey, your partner can't do the presentation to the VP. You have to do it. You have 5 minutes. Good luck." Uh-oh. What are some strategies we can do to amp ourselves up, to control our adrenaline response? I mean, I took this from singing opera. You have to learn how to control your adrenaline because, say, at a dress rehearsal, you have a solo, you're singing beautifully, it's perfect. But then on the day of the performance, jitters. What's different? The words are the same, costumes are the same, the audience is, the stage is all the same, everything is the same. What's different? Oh, adrenaline. So until you go into competitions or are on a stage where you have to address it and get used to it, you're unaware that it is something you can reduce. Now, I say reduce. I don't say you can eliminate. You don't want to eliminate it because fear is a good thing. It actually helps you to manage what it is you have to do. It helps you manage your time, helps you manage your boundaries, make sure that you fit within what it is that you want to do so you don't overextend yourself. But now by being up on that stage and controlling your adrenaline, now you apply that tool to at the office. I have to give a presentation. It's the same thing. Your body doesn't realize it. It thinks it's 10,000 years ago in a fight or flight response. You're walking down a path in the forest and you're about to be jumped by a saber-toothed tiger, right? So that's our reptilian response. So if we're still dealing with that through an email, imagine on cell phones, we're getting triggered every single day by social media and we're unable to control that response. That is a tough life to live. And that's why even in this day and society, we have people that have 5,000 friends on social media, but they feel lonely because those are not your friends. That word has become diluted by social media. You have 5,000 connections, but
Yeah.
my friends are the ones that I can call at midnight. I'm coming home from the airport and I got a flat tire. I need your help, buddy. Can you please help me? Yes, they show up. That's a friend,
Yeah.
right? And when you're down, they're the ones saying, you know what? It's okay. You'll be back. You'll be back up. Not the friends that, and every once in a while, your friends are the ones that laugh with you, not at you. So, because we have to roast each other, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I tell you what, I'm all forward on hearing you talk and the wisdom you bring, your gift, your experience. You're the walking example of going through the self image things that we all have one degree or another. So, hopefully today we've touched somebody to reach out to somebody. I think this is the key. If you're stuck, when I say stuck, that could be a myriad of different things. You could be stuck financially, stuck in relationships, all sorts of things. Reach out to people. I think that's the key. We're afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to reveal our hurts. We're afraid what people might think, right? So you create what I would call a safe space just in your conversation.
Indeed, indeed. And this is, I the way I do my coaching is very unique because my background really has shaped me in a very unique way. I think we all bring something unique to the table. Uh, I say I have event coordinators when I go up to do a keynote speech. Here's my announcement from the city of brotherly love, the kickboxing, opera singing, cancer scientist from Philadelphia. Rocky Balboa can't stand toe to toe with this guy. The Mindshift Master, Raja Vaidya. And in that whole intro, there's a whole lot of layers of psychology and strategic word usage to trigger emotions as well as imagery. Why did I bring out from the city of brotherly love? Oh, love. Now you're thinking about some kind of a relationship. Why did I bring up Rocky? Because everybody thinks about a triumphant Rocky if they know the story, you know. And why did I say, these three mutually exclusive things that shouldn't be together: karate, cancer research, and music? Well, who does that? You know, I'm a world champion martial artist. I'm a award-winning. I've made multi-billion-dollar drugs for a big pharma for over 25 years, and not only that, now I'm a classically trained opera singer. You know, and now you know I'm an author with his books up on a Times Square billboard. Who knew? And 5 years ago, I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to hide in the lab, do my work, and just have someone else present my data. And it bugged me. It really bothered me because I didn't get promoted because somebody else presented my work. And that's what happened. And that's part of the reason I said, I have to make a change. I can't let this go on anymore. So,
Good for you.
you have you have down below, if you want to connect with me, there's my email right there, rajavspeaker@gmail.com. I'd really appreciate any conversation you have and you just showing your trust in me, because truly I do create that safe space. And if there's something that you need, I have multiple programs, everything from a lead magnet to next week I have a 3-hour workshop that does a deep dive on my 2-year journey to like qualifying for the Olympics, that helps reshape the way you think. Then I have courses are anywhere from 5K to 15K and I have a year-long mastermind that is 24K a year. But you have to qualify for that and you have to interview for that. I don't just take anybody because I choose who I work with. And the
Yeah.
reason is I want to make sure I get the right people that I know I can help.
Yeah.
Because I'm not after the money. I want to make sure I change lives.
Well, Raja, I tell you what, we've got an hour and something, and I appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have you back again and be a little more clear on your books and those type of things, so we get that out there.
Sure.
So I'm going to put you in the back room, and any final word that you like to say to the audience.
Yes. One of my favorite quotes, and I just thought about this because we were just talking about Bob Proctor, is actually Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn had mentioned uh, during his teachings that don't wish that your obstacles were easier. Wish that you were better, and by doing that, that is going to how you're going to bring out the best version of you, because everybody right now is a version 1.0. Don't listen to anybody else that says, "Oh, how are you on a scale of 1 to 10?" You're not. You're just a version 1.0 right now. Every year you're a new beta version of yourself. You're
Yeah.
only comparing yourself to yourself from the day before and to tomorrow. That's it.
Yep.
So go enjoy that journey and go make that the 1% progress every single day. And if you want some more help, or if you want some more advice, or just want to chit chat, there's my email. Please connect with me.
Wonderful. Yes, and I'll make sure when we post this up, I'll push it out and tag it out to my audience as well. So wonderful. I look forward to us continue our relationship in many different ways. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just going to have you hold. I love what you did with about the food thing. I only do M&M, so enjoy the M&M.
You like that?
Yeah. So hold tight, Raja.
Okay.
So there we go. G-force, gratitude. We talked about that in the conversation and his life experiences and where his journey, and that's the key. Success is a journey. It's not a destination. as Sandra Gallagher says, is who you become along the way. That one step, that 1%, like Raja talked about. And you don't compare. You don't compare. And you just get focused on your outcome. So I just loved the conversation that we had today. We're moving into the Christmas holiday. I won't be doing a live stream next week on Friday on G-Force. I'll probably put up a replay, and it might be Raja. So if you missed it, but I just want to wish everybody, be grateful for this moment. We just got out of the Thanksgiving holiday, and we spend a lot of time. What are we grateful for? But make every day a thankful day. What am I grateful for? Moving forward into the Christmas season, understanding peace, joy, and love. Incorporate those on a day-to-day basis and be grateful that you're here today so you can share your good message, your wisdom, your love, your peace, and joy with others. So I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you in January.